Good morning, students. Today we are going to continue with our previous chapter that we're studying about the Egyptian civilization. Now, before moving forward, let us again go back to what we had gone through in our previous class. Now, in this chapter, uh, we were discussing about the incoming of the Egyptian civilization and how it flourished, and River Nile, how it played a very important role in bringing about the development of this particular civilization, which had various different kind of benefits that were provided due to the existence of this river. And because of this river itself, Egypt was called as the gift of Nile, because they got a lot of benefits, and it was the only river that flowed through the civilization, which gave them a lot of resourceful benefit that developed this civilization. Then we studied about the important beliefs and religious activities that they used to practice during this time, in which we studied about their belief in life after death. Then important monuments or architectural things that were made by them, which has significant importance till today in modern times, and the division of the kingdom into various different uh, times or in different periods, and how in different periods they were developed. And the kingdom, which was divided into two important parts, which was the lower Egypt and the upper Egypt. And Pharaoh was regarded as the king or the ruler of the civilization, who controlled the workings and the rules, regulations, and drafting of important things that were required to be to govern the civilization in a proper way. Now, then we discuss about the important main points in regarding to the main characteristics of the Egyptian civilization. And today we are going to learn about few of the important characteristics here in this chapter. Now, first of all, it is about the town planning. Now, what was town planning? Like, we have in and around our society and area, that the society or a place or a town is designed in such a way that it has certain various important features into it, and important things that are being built across various roads or gullies, and important ways connecting from one place to another. So in this similar way, here in this Egyptian civilization in the ancient time, the city or the town was properly mapped or properly created. Now, it is said that it was well planned, and few of the important cities that developed during that time were Memphis and the Thebes. These are the two important cities that originally it established by itself due to the dwelling of the people for a longer period of time. And various important cities also started getting developed. And here also the main importance that was given was the river Nile that existed, which flowed throughout through the civilization, and which gave a lot of benefit. And due to this Nile river, there were various differentiation in regarding to the construction or location of various places. Now, few of the places which were near to the river Nile, it was considered to be a flood zone area. So it was most probably made in a high elevated area or in a particular height, so that when flood comes, they are safe and secure. And some of the cities were also, as I already told you, were divided, or the parts of the civilization was divided into upper and the lower Egypt, or the lower part. One was in the southern region and one was on the northern region, which was considered to be the lower Egypt. Now, there were few parallel or broad roads also that were constructed, that connected one street to the another street and one place to the another place. And various places were also subdivided from the main street as a narrow street, which again you can call it as gullies, that were constructed, which directed them towards the houses which were constructed inside of or apart from the main street. So there were various different divisions and system where the total city was planned in a particular way, and in on that variations only the construction were been made in a proper and in a civilized way. So this gives a indirect idea as to how people during that time also were very much civilized or knowledgeable people, who knew as to how a construction or how a city has to be developed or a town has to be developed, connecting one person to the another person in a better way. Now, as time went on, development also happened. There were various important things that were discovered and development happened. So the planning system and the dwelling system of the house or the town also changed from one part to the another part, or one type to the another type. Now the next important topic is about the buildings, how the buildings were constructed, the houses. And now why it is important? Because it differentiated the class of people from one to another, the type of houses they lived in, and according to that living standard only, or living type of houses, the differentiation of public or people were done. Now there were two important buildings that were built during that period, which was known as dwelling houses, and the other was known as the public buildings. Now they have a peculiar difference between both of this. It has a very important difference between both of this. The dwelling houses were most probably those places where people used to live. Individual or private individual people with their families used to live. And this living system was also of different patterns or different ways. Now it is said that most of the houses that were built were made of sun-baked bricks. What is sun-baked means? A mud which is taken into the shape of a brick, and it is dried in the hot sun. And due to the heat and absorbing of humidity, what happens is that mud becomes very tight and strong or hard. And with that brick, they used to make houses that was known as the sun-baked bricks. And there were number of differentiation, as I told you. Now individually let us know what exactly differentiated from one person living with in comparison to the other standard of living among the people in the Egyptian civilization. Now here it is said that in certain family who were quite middle or standard in living, they had most probably one or two rooms inside their houses, with a flat, almost a flat roof that was there, connecting towards rooms connecting toward the terrace. And they had only 2 or 3 rooms where bathrooms were not there. Now this kind of houses indicated about the lower economical class of people who were there in the Egyptian civilization. And the rich people, higher to them, were those people who used to live where there were 3 to 4 rooms with multiple stories, or 2 to 3 stories building made out of stones. And they had a staircases that were connecting one story to the other, that we have still now in modern times also. When 2 or 3 buildings, story buildings are made, it is connected through a staircase which is connected from one part of the story to the another part of the stories of the building. So it was similar of that kind, which again indicates that whatever we have in modern times, the patterns, those are taken from the earlier people, what they used, and those same things are used. It is in a modernized way, in a better way, but the concept is same, which is adopted from those civilizations that were there. Now the third part is those highly, or the places where you can call it as royal families. Now, like the royal families, the middle class families that earlier I told, they had 3-4 houses inside, having multiple stories connecting toward the rooftop. And even they had bathrooms attached there inside their rooms, with a courtyard. Even they had kitchen and a very large pool area. So this indicated rich people who were living in the society. And then the royal family at the last, which is known as the royal palaces or the kingdoms, where it was separated. Those places were separated from the rest of the people with high building walls. And it had multiple rooms there, about 30-40 rooms there. It was constructed in a high elevated area. Now this differentiated from general public and the royal family among themselves. And there were various important temples and important things that were built inside the walled area, where the palaces were made, or the king's areas were there. So these were the differentiation of dwelling houses, which differentiated between the poor people, rich people, and the royal family. So these are the 3 important differences in regarding to the dwelling system. And the next is about the public building among itself. Like I told you about the building system of two types. One is dwelling and one is public. Now dwelling we discussed. Now public, what building? Public building, what does it mean? Now public building are most probably those areas where general public as a whole can use. Like now also we have temples, we have community halls made by the government. Then we have hospitals in today's time. In the same way, there were also certain public buildings that were used most probably by each and everyone. Like temples were there. There were well planned areas where people could sit together, which were built in high walls, and it was basically, it is said that it was symmetrical in size. That is the kind of measurement or the system or the pattern in which the most probably the public building is made, which differentiated the construction and the design differentiated it from the dwelling houses. So temples were there, massive structures were there, high gates were there, important libraries were there, public use places were there that were built, and that was known as the public buildings that were generally could be used by each and everyone. So the next important topic is about the architecture and engineering. Now, in the starting of the chapter, I told you that the skills and the knowledge of the Egyptian civilization was such that they were well versed with their own knowledge and the things that were existing around them. They discovered various important things by observations and experiments, and brought about various different architectural, magnificent architectural buildings. Still today, those buildings are found to be existing, which has become a very important tourist spots or wonders of the world. Now, we already know about the great pyramids that were made, that was of triangular shape, and these were found to be known as to be existed from this Egyptian civilization period, that were built during that time by the kings or the rulers that were there during the civilization. And it is one of the seven wonders of the world, which is counted in the ancient heritages that are still prevailing in today's time. So you can see, like, if in modern construction also, if a building is made which is about 30, 40, 50 years old, or the British building that we see, Britishers that we build, we see those buildings are found to be almost broken or almost damaged. But if you see these construction masterpieces, you can find it why they are considered to be the seven wonders of the world, because it has a different system of construction which has made it so magnificent that still it exists very strong, and it is still standing as it was built. Now, as I was talking about the great pyramid that exists in Giza, which is the seventh wonder of the world, and the other important thing is the sphinx. Now, what is sphinx is that it is constructed near the pyramid itself, which has a body of a lion and head of a human. That indicates the king's head or the ruler's head. That this symbolizes the importance of mythological figure, which indicates that there is an important personality which has a supreme power, and even the king was considered during the time as a supreme ruler or the supreme head in their own civilization or the kingdom, who was considered to be one of the representatives. So in this behalf, it is said that by the historians that this particular sphinx were symbolically made to indicate the strength or the power of the king and the gods that were being worshipped during that time. Now, about the society. Now, how the people among the society was divided according to their classes. Now, it is said the society was divided into three important classes. One was the upper class, then the middle class, and lastly the lower class. Now, let us understand what exactly in these three different classes people were differentiated into, and how, in what basis. Now, most probably the upper classes consisted of the royal families, rich landowners, the noble people who were connected to the kingdom, then the government, then the holy priest that were there, regarded or given high dignity in the society. So these were the important people who were considered on the upper class people. Then on the second part, we had the lower class people, and this lower or the middle class people. So the middle class people are with those people who were related to trade and business. those manufacturer, traders, businessmen, craft people were considered to be the middle class people. And lastly, the lower class people or the least class people were those part of the society which were most probably peasants or means common farmers who depended most probably in agricultural and other things. Now in this lower class of people, there existed one more category of people or one more category of group of people. That group of people are known as slaves. Now this word slave were very prominently practiced. The system of slavery system was prominently practiced, and this particular word has a meaning. And what does it mean? Now slave are like, for example, let me explain you. If you go to the market and if you buy anything that you like to have, whether it be vegetable, fruits or clothes or anything, so what you do is that you go to a market, you pay amount for that, and then you get the thing that you want. Now these slaves were human beings. Now these slaves were human beings who were sold in a market. They also had a market where human beings were sold. And these people, rich people, most probably what they used to do, they used to go there, buy those slaves, bidding amount personally by them, and after buying those slaves individually, they used to take them to their own places, and they used to make them work without any payment or without any kind of benefits. That means what, they had no fundamental rights, no freedom, nothing, so to say, as life as a human being. So this slave were categorized those people who were sold or bought and sold in a separate or special kind of market that existed in the Egyptian civilization. So this was the society that it was divided into. Now the family life. How in this family life it is talking about who were the important people who led the family, or who supported, and who were the important strength of the family, or how the family system was channelized, or how it was been carried forward, or how it was taken care. Now the families here in the ancient civilization and the Egyptian civilization is said to have a close knit in groups. They used to stay in groups, individually or in a cluster of groups together. Now there was a close, it was said that there was a close uniqueness or closeness between husband, wife and the children. Now here the father was considered to be the head of the family, who had to take care of all the requirement need of the family. Now even the women played a very important role, because they were also given equal amount of respect and equal amount of opportunities during that time. They were allowed to do trade, they were allowed to do go for worship areas, and hold properties in their own name. So it is considered that human dignity and human respect, or women's respect, were also there during the Egyptian civilization. And the children most probably enjoyed the carefree life until and unless they grew to a certain age where they could realize the responsibility, and then go forward to be the bread earners of the family. Till then, during the earlier or the small age, they were only asked to learn or get educated and live a social life among themselves. Now it is said that there was differentiation in family system, or the outfits, or the style of living among the people or the family system. Now most probably the middle class or the lower class people were found to be such a way which they most probably were in a conservative or a restricted part of their own living standards, and they had certain limited amount of amenities that they enjoyed. But on the separate way, where the royal families and the upper class people had various luxurious life, living together with their families and the royal beings, and the outfit itself and the other important activities that this it is told as that it is considered as recreational activities or luxurious activities other than the normal activities, where they used to it is said that they used to go for fishing, hunting. These were the extra lifestyle that the royal families or the upper class people enjoyed during that time. So we'll conclude ourselves here for today, and understanding in this what we discussed about the main characteristics, and keeping a note about what was the town planning that was existing during that time, getting which divided one part of the society with the another, and the road system and the proper pattern of the town that was there. Then the buildings that were divided into two important parts, that were dwelling houses where people used to live according to their own living standards, and then the public buildings. Then we studied about the architecture and the engineering, where I give you a hint about the importance of pyramids, and the existence of the Sphinx, which is considered as one of the seven wonders of the world. And the society, as it was divided into three important parts that we should remember: the upper, middle, and the lower class. And lastly, that we discussed today was the family life, as to the father who was considered to be the head of the family, and how women were also equally given importance, but the system of lifestyle were different among the middle class people and the higher class people, having extra luxurious activities that they used to do. In our next class, we are going to study more about few of the other characteristics like food, occupation, dress, and religious activities that they practice. So this is all for the day. Have a good day, and stay healthy, stay fit, and keep yourself in a proper way. Thank you.